make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
Guys, it's Sunny Chayes, and we're here today on Singing in the Rain, also known as the Sunny Chayes Show in beautiful Hollywood. And we are so blessed and excited to have the phenomenal James Twyman in the sort of house. We're Skyping him in, and we're hoping soon that he's actually in our house here at UBN. We're going to be talking about a lot of incredible things, and I just want to tell you that James Twyman is one of my favorite musicians, and I really, really am just like beside myself that he's with us today. He's written over 15 books. He's done movies, and a couple of them that I absolutely love, which we'll be talking about when he comes on. And of course, he wrote The Moses Code, which I'm sure many of you know, and last year it was all about A Course in Miracles. And I think one of the most important things that he does, in my humble opinion, is he is really the peace troubadour right now, going to some of the most dangerous places, the hottest places on earth, actually probably the most dangerous places on earth, and bringing the concept of meditation, music, prayer, to heal, shift, change the energy and the conflict in places such as Syria and, again, the most hot places, and, of course, Standing Rock, which we're going to talk about. So without any further ado, let us just bring on Jimmy already.
All right.
Enough of my talking. Enough already.
Hello. Wonderful to be here.
Thank you so much. Oh, my God, I'm so excited. We've got him in the house, sort of. We're roping him in slowly
I'm
and
just
slowly.
happy to be here.
I'm so glad. Well, I want you to just start chatting. I want you to tell me what you're up to a little bit.
Oh my gosh, this is such an important, amazing time, a confusing time, perhaps, for some of us. But, I think what this time really tells us is that the moment has come for us to shine, for us to play our role and not to hold back. If there was ever a time that we were needed to shine our light, not to be against anything, but to be for something, this is it. And I'm sure we'll talk about that from a lot of different directions today. But I think that's what I'm most excited about right now. Is it's easy to be pulled into the fray, and it's easy to think that we're maybe at a very difficult time, but kind of like the Charles Dickens novel, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. In many ways, that describes what we're enduring, but that means that we have an opportunity. We can go on creating what has led to this drama, or we can create anew, and we can begin to create from a new level, a level of peace, a level of harmony. And I think that as more and more of us come together and feel this empowerment, that's what's going to happen.
Beautifully, beautifully said, and thank you for starting out our show so incredibly. A couple notes I wrote as you were chatting. I just wrote some words, again, like you were saying, this is our time, this is our sacred time, and I wrote down the words, wake up and awaken. And I'm thinking about sort of Marianne Williamson's call to action when she was running for Congress, and also, of course, before with Sister Giant, and just in her general speaking, and sort of saying if we want to call ourselves the sacred people, the spiritual people, the conscious people, whatever sort of term we want to use, are the ones who are really, really the awesome ones too. Kind of throw ourselves into the ring of change makers, and having a voice, and not leaving it for those other people to be doing. We are those other people. There is no they, and we can't be on the sidelines anymore. That's sort of where I feel. It's kind of bringing that up.
And even to go a little further, to come into the consciousness and the realization that there literally is no other. Yeah. It's so easy to look at what's going on in this country, this world right now, through the lens of us versus them, and there are these other people who don't agree with. Well, I think that the highest path is to realize that there is no other, and not to try to bring, or maybe a good way to say it is to stop trying to move around the furniture in the Titanic, because there's something bigger going on here. And if we can have the consciousness of that unified being, to realize that there's only one person that needs to get this, and it's me.
Mm-hmm.
Then I can stop focusing on those who disagree, those who have a different position, and realize that none of that matters. And when when enough of us realize that, that's when all the division that we've been feeling, say from the U.S. election, begins to dissolve, and we start to come together. But as long as we are focused on the other and the differences of the other, we're going to continue to polarize. We're going to continue to go apart. So we're being called now, people like everyone who's listening and watching this right now, we're being called to change the way we think about not only this country, not only the election, but everything. We're being called to change the way we look at everything. And in doing so, everything comes to play, and we realize that we've always been in the perfect place to do this.
Wow. Again, beautifully said. I think that I also feel like looking at, for myself, I can say that I was really heartbroken. And one of the reasons that I was heartbroken was because not so much that people don't agree with me, but just sort of seeing that there were people who were feeling that certain things were okay. And so I had to move through that. And that's why I have you on the show, and we're going to have Marianne and Michael Beckwith and different people who are going to help me. You guys are helping me because I was really, really sad. And I was thinking, what? I mean, I have a voice. I have this show. I have this opportunity. And how do I navigate that? And how do I bring the highest possible place where we can come from? What shoulders can we stand on to then go up from there? And I was thinking, when I think of the White House, I was thinking, gosh, I mean, instead of thinking, well, who should be there or all of that, just feeling that this is a time where the White House can be a place of sacred behavior. And if we all just sort of thought that way, like then whatever goes on there, it doesn't really matter who is there or what they look like or whatever. But if we just think of that is what that place is at this glorious time in our development and our human history, then maybe that can help elevate us, and maybe we can actually create that.
Yeah. About 2 days before the election, we called a worldwide meditation to focus on the highest good being done in the election. We asked people all over the world, there were thousands of people, to stop for 15 minutes and just focus on the highest good. Now, that being said, I had my idea of what I thought the highest good was. And I'll just say it wasn't the way it turned out. But I had to let go of that. And now we're all being called to let go of our ideas, because it's the ideas that polarize. But when we are calling forth the highest good, knowing that I may not recognize the details, I may not think that it should be this way because it looked a lot better that way. But to know that there may be something higher at play here that none of us can see, and to trust that.
Yes.
This is a supreme time for trust. There's no way for us to know what's really going on or why things are turning out the way they are. But if I can surrender everything that I think and just ask only to be an instrument of the highest good and trust that, that's when I can really be used. So right now, what I'm encouraging people to do, as odd as it may feel, to really send your prayers and your energy to Donald Trump and to really empower him, because the truth is he is going to be the president of the United States. Whether I like it or not, or whether any of us like it or not, that's the truth. And so we can hold back and we can begrudge that whole thing, or we can send him all of our prayers, all of our energy, so that he would be a great president. Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't it be amazing to look back 4 years from now and say, boy, was I wrong?
Well, exactly. And another thing that I want to say regarding that is he is one person, and the entire makeup of what runs our country are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. So I would add to that and go deeper and saying, let us send all of our love to to our Congress people, to our governors, to our senators, to really guide and to really feel the wisdom that is important now at this time. Because what was important in politics 20 years ago, we also live in a very different world. We have a different technology. We have different challenges with, let's say, pollutions and water and different, we just have a different world now. And the people are going to come that we can pray and we can know with new ideas and new creativity and new imagination about what we can take forward.
For me, this comes down to a very simple prayer, and it's a prayer that most of us are familiar with. It's called the prayer of St. Francis. Mm-hmm. And the idea of it is, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. The thing about an instrument is that it doesn't play itself. Mm-hmm. The instrument, like, for example, I have a guitar here, right? And the guitar doesn't play its own music. It has to surrender and fall back into the arms of the master musician so that it can be played. And I think it's very much the same with all of us. We're simply here to ask to become and to maintain that being an instrument of peace, and to know that if we do that, then we'll be used. We'll be played in just the perfect way, that beautiful harmony can be shared with everyone. So maybe a good thing to do here would be to share a little bit of that prayer, because music has a beautiful way of shifting the energy and taking us right to our heart. And really, I have to say, so much of the work that I've done for the last 25 years came when I put this prayer to music, the prayer of St. Francis. So if it's okay, maybe I'll just share a little bit of that prayer now.
Please.
So I'll just invite everyone, wherever they are, just to fall back into this beautiful music. Oh Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, I am your love. Where there is injury, pardon, and where there is doubt, your faith, and where there is despair, your hope. Where there is darkness, I will be your light. And where there is sadness, your joy. Oh, divine Master, grant that we may not seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. We are now your instruments, beloved. For it is in giving that we receive, and pardoning that we are pardoned, and in dying To ourselves we live. Oh Lord, I am an instrument of your peace. Oh Lord, I am an instrument of your peace.
Mm. Whoa. Wow. That was beautiful. Oh my gosh, we need that. We need that. We need that. Oh, good. I'm glad John recorded this so people can hear this many times. That sounded phenomenal, by the way, doing that in a small studio kind of situation you have there. What is ours to do? I mean, yes, at this point, we are an instrument. We are an instrument with whatever we have, wherever
First
we
is to
are.
love,
Yeah.
it's that simple. Let me put it even a bit different. Um, Ours is to not think that the solution is outside of us.
Mhm.
Ours is to realize that whatever's going on in this world, and I mean both individually and collectively, is based on the decisions that we're making from within.
Mm.
And so in our own lives, how do we know when we've been making decisions that are not benefiting us? By looking out and seeing what our lives are like. And that applies to this country and to this world as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now we can look at the chaos and we can resist it, we can push against it, or we can simply use it as a barometer to see where we are and to realize my own responsibility for shifting that. And so my only responsibility is to love and to not, as we said before, focus on the differences of the other, but to realize that there is no other. And as more and more of us come into that experience, because it's not intellectual, it's definitely an experience. When we come into that experience, the experience of oneness, then all of these other things begin to shift on their own. We don't need to do anything. So it's not about trying to change things in the world. I've given up trying to do that. I'm here only to change my own mind. And I've found that when I do that, the world changes on its own.
Well, I love that concept, and I want to, again, take something even deeper. We're going to get deeper and deeper and deeper, I hope. Standing Rock. We're talking about love and changing ourselves and everything. And as you're saying that, I'm thinking I come from an activist family. So I'm thinking that is true. I agree with everything you're saying. And each person has a different role in life, and that's what makes the puzzle piece of the humanity is so beautiful and interesting, the patchwork quilt that we all put together and create. And there are some beautiful beings. There are some people who have come forward to really make a difference. Joan of Arc, St. Francis, of course, the ones we know in the past century, and that Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Yogananda, different people. And then there are many people who do that and we don't know their names. They're not famous people. And I'm thinking of Standing Rock and the heroes there. And so I just wondered what you have to say about that.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up the three people, the modern people that you did, Gandhi, King, Yogananda, because these are what I would call spiritual peacemakers. Mm-hmm. These are people who understand the higher law of how peace comes about. And it does mean being active. Look at Gandhi, look at King. They were very, very active, but they were active from a place of love, not of a place of conflict. Mm-hmm. And so when you look at Standing Rock, there's a lot of energy, and you have the elders who are holding a prayerful, energetic, and active space that is not about trying to confront something, but to bless it so powerfully that it shifts. This is exactly what Gandhi did. Gandhi, his whole message, and King as well, was about loving the other to such a degree that they will realize their error on their own. It's not about trying to force them to not build something or to leave a country. That will happen on its own when we love in an active way to such a degree that there's no other choice. And this is why Gandhi was able to accomplish what seemed to be impossible by many people. It's why Dr. King was able to do as much. It's why the inspiration of people like Yogananda has meant so much to so many.
And he was also working with politicians as well, Yogananda.
Sure, yeah. And what you have in Standing Rock is both a focused and what I believe to be an unfocused energy. And what I'm hoping to see is that it's going to focus around the energy that the elders are holding more, because it's not going to be about anger. It's not going to be about fighting. It's going to be about loving and prayer. But I do mean an active prayer, because I think what they're doing there is very active. It needs to be, but active can be a double-edged sword. If we're trying to confront something that we're against with anger, violence, unfortunately, history shows us we don't get anywhere. But the people who have been successful, like Gandhi and King, are those who confronted conflict with love. And so that's what I'm wanting to promote more and more, whether it be Standing Rock or elsewhere. That yes, we do need to be active, but it needs to come from that place of, once again, not the other, but to realize that if we can hold that space of oneness, then there is no other, and then it happens on its own.
Oh, I love you putting it that way. And one of the things that I think I can say for myself that's so important for Standing Rock for me, being an American, is that it's sort of enough is enough. It's like that is their land. They have been doing what they've been doing for 1,000 years, and to screw with that in any way just feels so painful to me. As I say, as a white American, it really, really gets me. And so I love that the way it has been handled. And there are many, as you know, I know you were doing prayer vigils and having people, like you do many places, sort of focusing that laser beam on the piece, on the event, first of all, for people to be aware that it's even happening, and the clarity of what the event is, that this is a land that is their sacred land. It's not just about stopping something or not having oil. It's about, this is our sacred land. We want to protect it and keep it as it is. It's all we're asking. We just want it to be. And we want our water to be pure. That's all we're asking. And for all of us around, I mean, I know I was in probably 5 different meditations and groups with people doing extremely powerful work, I feel, to bring that exact thing that you're talking about. Not even thinking about who perhaps was doing something with rubber bullets or this or that. None of that. It was just what is here and what do we want to see, and the most beautiful outcome of all possible way. And so, that's where I was with it and am with it still.
Yeah. I mean, this is a very powerful time, and you're right about protecting sacred land and honoring that. And we have to look a little bit deeper than what seems to be happening to realize where the real problem is. The real problem is greed. The real problem is thinking that it's okay for us to stomp on other people's rights to get what we want. And corporate greed is a big issue today. But once again, we're not going to overcome that with more violence, to overcome that with aggression. We're going to overcome that with love, and by all of us coming together. The thing that I'm inspired by Standing Rock is that so many people are coming together into this consciousness. And if we can maintain this consciousness of the highest benefit for all, then we'll find a way to make this work where the companies are going to realize that there's another way of doing this, and we'll just allow that to unfold perfectly.
Yeah, I wanted to read to you. You probably already read this or saw this, but Bill McKibben, who's the founder of the advocacy group 350.org, he wrote this in The Guardian the day after the shift happened on Sunday night on December 4th, where, if many of you know, December 5th was going to be a big change. And so holding the light and just holding the knowing that what was and is meant to be can be. And this is what Bill says. He says it won't set this relationship on an entirely new course. Change never comes that easily, but it won't ever be it won't ever be forgotten, and it will influence events for centuries to come. So I felt that was really important to think of that, because taking that stand and allowing that to be with so many people focusing on this, and again, like you were saying, coming together, and so many tribes and the vets coming in, and just many, many different kind of community, like the Venn diagram, many, many different communities coming together to again show that we are just one community. And I thought that was what was so powerful about Standing Rock up until now as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I want to also talk about, if we can, your new movie. Let's talk about your new movie. Let's do it.
I'm excited about this because we're getting ready to release a film through the Unity churches. I'm actually wanting to do a whole series of films for Unity called A Sound Called Unity. That title came to me about a year ago. I was actually finishing a film last year called A Chorus in Miracles, which I'll come back to in a moment. Mm-hmm. And so often things begin with me from a title. I'll like you mentioned the Moses Code. That started with the title. Many things like, I'll think that's a good title. I wonder what that is. And then I just kind of follow it. And that title, A Sound Called Unity, came because the Course in Miracles movie, obviously based on the book A Course in Miracles, it was filled with music, and it was a fun and enlivened movie that was exciting, largely because of the music and the sound. So I thought we should keep this going. And so the title, A Sound Called Unity, came to me. And then a friend of mine, there were really three parts of it. First, the title, and then a friend gave me a book called The 12 Powers, which is by Charles Fillmore. And it's one of the foundational books for the Unity movement. And I began to read it, and it was just moving me very, very deeply. It was really all about the integration of the spiritual being here on earth. And then one more thing, which was earlier this year, I decided that I was going to do what I could to help bring peace to the situation in Syria. And I had this idea of going to a spot where I could look down on a village in Syria held by ISIS and do a concert, share some of the prayers of peace, and have people all over the world be focusing their prayers on that situation for 15 minutes. And so those three things just kind of came together, and I was able to put this Syrian trip together. We had rabbis, imams, priests, and ministers come with me. We were all together on February 1st on this hill, literally looking down on this village that was held by ISIS. And millions of people around the world stopped what they were doing to focus their prayers on that situation.
And I was one of them.
Thank you for that. And as so often happens, something shifted. I've often said that this level of focused prayer is, I believe, to be the most powerful force in the whole world, in the whole universe. Because every time I've been in a country that was in great conflict and we focused this energy, something has shifted. In this particular case, it was 5 days later when the peace talks in Munich began. Clearly, there's a long way to go in Syria, but something shifted to at least bring people to the table to begin talking. And also, because of the craziness of the whole thing, being on this hill looking over ISIS, I got a lot of attention in the media. My favorite was Bill Maher did a whole piece on me, and he called me the idiot folk singer from Portland. The only part that I was offended by was being called a folk singer, but I need to let that go. But it was amazing how much attention this was getting. So this all came together for this beautiful movie. We shot this whole thing. So the movie is going to be released in most Unity churches. It'll be the weekend of January 20th to the 24th, I think. 22nd,
Beautiful.
January 20th to 22nd. So if you're watching this and you want to see if your Unity Church is showing it, just go ahead and go to their website, call them up, ask if they're showing the 12 Power movie. And I've been showing it in a few churches now in some pre-release sessions, and it's, I think, been very inspiring for a lot of people.
Oh my goodness, that's so exciting! And so, any of the so Unity Church ministers out there and program directors, just call Beyond Words, or who do they?
Yeah, sure. Beyond Words, which is the sponsor of this program, I'm happy to know.
Yes.
They can certainly sign people up. That would probably be the easiest way. Just go to beyondword.com, and you can probably get information there.
Yeah, and of course we'll talk about this next week and stuff too. I guess I'm going to promote it for you a little bit, Jimmy. Is that okay?
Oh yeah, that's okay.
Well, I want to say something about the Syrian thing, because I just also want to say that it was really powerful. It did shift a lot, and I think you were wearing bulletproof vests and things. I mean, it was not a safe place, and so
we weren't wearing any bulletproof vests, nothing like that.
Oh,
we
well,
were completely
yikes.
exposed. No, there were about 100 of us together, and we took buses from Jerusalem to get there, and we got to the top of this hill, and we were totally exposed. But let me tell you one really interesting thing that happened. First of all, when we arrived, literally the war was going on beneath us. There were guns firing, and the battle was happening. But as soon as we began the meditation, everything went silent. And there was not a sound to be heard. No gun was fired the entire time. And then I was watching the clock, because I was going to bring us out of the meditation after 15 minutes. And the time arrived, and I was literally taking a breath to begin an Om so that we could all come out of the meditation. Before a single sound came out of my mouth, suddenly a wolf that was maybe a couple of 100 feet below us began to howl. And then 2, and then 5, and then 10, like a whole pack of wolves began to howl for exactly 1 minute and then stopped. Wow. And that was how we came out of the meditation. We didn't even know that there were wolves in this area, but someone told us later that indeed wolves had been reintroduced to this area not long before. So even nature was with us in this whole endeavor.
That is so wild. I remember reading that on your website and thinking, how magical is that? Yeah. And this sort of started with Greg Braden and you and Greg Braden and one other of your buddies.
And Doreen Virtue.
That's Doreen Virtue. How could I forget?
Back in 1998, yeah, we. Well, I had just gotten back from Iraq. I had been invited by Saddam Hussein to come to Iraq and to do a concert there, and that was the first time we had one of these worldwide meditations. It was in 1998. And then I met Greg and Doreen like a week later. We've become dear friends since then. But we were all really excited about bringing people together in this way. It's a very positive, energetic way, and active. We were talking before about the importance of activism. I believe that this power is some people may think that you're just meditating. And that's not active. I don't believe that at all. I believe that it is very active. It's a powerful force. So Greg and Doreen and I got together, and we brought together several worldwide meditations. I remember one in particular that I would love to share, because it was also focused on the situation in Iraq. Things were starting to go bad there. President Clinton was still in office, and we called everyone together because it looked like another war was inevitable. And so on the night that the meditation was to happen, we didn't know that President Clinton was going to be ordering the battle to begin. So all of the ships were in the Gulf, and he had launched these fighter jets to begin bombing. And they were hovering above Iraq, waiting for the last word from the president to begin launching their weapons. And it was at the exact same time that this meditation was occurring. And no one to this day knows exactly what happened. It was a big mystery. But they did not launch a single weapon. Clinton brought the planes back to the ships, and then after a little while launched them again to once again do this, and once again brought them back. And in the face of millions of people who are sending their energy and their prayers of peace, at least for that one night, not a single bomb fell and not a single person died.
Ooh.
And you can say that it was a coincidence, but I've seen this happen over and over and over again. And that's why I resolutely believe that this is a powerful force that we can activate. And when we come together in this way, there are no limits.
Whoa. Well, speaking of that what a beautiful, incredible story. That's so powerful. And I think John has queued up. He was asking me if we could play the trailer for the movie. So is that okay with you, Jimmy, if we let that go here? Okay, John. Oh, do you have anything to? Yeah, go ahead.
You'll actually be able to see us up on the hill as we prepare for the meditation. So yeah, let's go ahead and watch the trailer.
Okay, cool.
What happens when millions of people focus together on a situation of world crisis? Call it meditation or prayer, but regardless of what you call it, it has the power to change everything. On February 1st, 2016, people from around the world focused their prayers on a small group of peacemakers, Jewish, Muslim, and Christian, sitting on a hill overlooking a village held by ISIS. They had one goal in mind: to send a massive blessing into the war zone, a new kind of extremism based on the laws of love. And at the same time, the small band of peacemakers carried with them a book, The 12 Powers by Charles Fillmore. Somehow, the two events were connected, though it was still a mystery how. This is the movie about the merging of those two powerful forces.
The 12 Powers is probably one of the simplest and most brilliant ways to express what being Christ-like is all about.
I believe that the 12 powers are the key to living a life that is worthy of our divine nature.
As a 20-year-old who is going to be a future Unity minister, I think that the 12 powers are as relevant today as they always have been when Charles wrote them.
They speak of universal principles and practices, and they give an individual tools to use to be able to move forward in their lives through consciousness.
The integration of the 12 powers is essential because it really calls us into a higher level of living in the world that isn't about shame and blame and destruction, but is actually about life and living from a whole new perspective of reality.
Here's the thing about Unity. It used to have the tagline, practical Christianity. Practical meaning we can do it in our everyday lives. And I think in order for that to happen, we need a template, we need a framework.
I've spent the last 3 decades immersing myself in the study of those stages which are the 12 powers. And I still don't understand everything yet.
Beautiful. Are we back?
Yes, we are.
Yay. Oh my God, that was beautiful. I am so excited to see that. And I really, really think things like this are so important to be having out. We had another thing that Beyond Words was working with was The Power of the Heart, which I absolutely love that movie. And we promoted that all over the place. I had a bunch of events myself, and it's one of my favorites. And I think entertainment like this is just so cool because it's fun, it's incredible, it's got great music, and it's entertaining, and it's just so uplifting. And so to spend, an hour and a half of our time and also gathering with groups, I think it's so wonderful to do this in the churches, to do this with our peeps, our gang, our community, and then go out and break bread together after or whatever. I think it's just a great, great way of healing and of being inspired and growing. So thank you so much for doing this.
Well, it was my pleasure. making a movie like that is definitely a work of the heart, because it takes a long time and it's a huge effort. But as you said, it's about community, and whatever I can do to bring the community together, whether it be for a movie or for a prayer vigil or for a concert, that's what I'm most passionate about. So I hope everyone gets a chance to see the film. So once again, just check out your own local Unity church, and most of them will be playing it in January.
I love that. And as I say, I mean, there's so many people who listen to this, and of course, there are unities all over the world, and a lot of you people are hearing this. So yeah, you can get to Beyond Words and create one. And what's so fun about doing these kinds of things in your churches is that sometimes it brings people in that haven't been there before. So that's kind of fun too. And kind of like with the Power of the Heart, it's like it's a great vibe and good cred to bring to your church and to share those kind of messages with people. And so, yeah, you can get, again, people who may not normally pop in your doors to pop in your doors and maybe stay a while.
Right, that's the whole idea.
Exactly. And you know what, speaking of that, we heard a little bit of your guitar in the background because John didn't have you down, which reminds me that I would love it if you could play something more for us. We have a few more minutes, so it would be
Well, maybe
great.
I could play something from the new movie.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking. So this is, what I did was I took each of the powers that Charles Fillmore wrote about in the 12 Power book and put each one of them to music. So this is the first one, which is the power of faith. Faith will unbound you. Faith will remind you you are whole. Let me start again. Hold on. This is live.
That's right. We like that.
Faith will unbind you, and faith will remind you you are whole and holy in God's hands. Faith will protect you, and faith resurrects you and your soul. For only allowing your love to heal, for only love will reveal your faith. Faith will unbind you. Faith will remind you you are whole and holy in God's hands. Faith will protect you, and faith resurrect you as your soul. For only allowing your love to heal, for only love will reveal your faith. Faith has come. Faith has come to reveal the one that you knew so long, but left behind, as if God could never find you. True faith is all you'll ever need to reveal the one who could never leave. True faith is yours and will always be, for the truth has come to lead you back to your faith, back to your faith.
Beautiful. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for that. Well, this is going to be, is there someplace else also I want to, just as long as we're talking about being the peace troubadour that you are, do you have a peace troubadour location in the future?
Yes, well, we're in the midst of putting together a peace journey to North Korea right
Ooh,
now.
ooh.
North
Okay.
Korea is a place that we know is truly in need of love. You know, this is just another example of a different form of activism. It's not about seeing someone else as an enemy or seeing someone else as someone that we need to overcome or convince even, but someone simply to send our love and our light to. And we know that this is the only way to overpower hatred and darkness is through light and love. And so I'm going to be going to North Korea and going to be focusing a worldwide prayer vigil either in January or February. We're not exactly sure yet. We're putting together those details so that it's nice and safe. That's the idea, to get in and then also get back out. So what I would suggest is that if people are interested in knowing more and also being alerted when these worldwide meditations happen, to make sure you go to WorldPeacePulse.com, WorldPeacePulse.com, and you can get on our email list, and that way whenever we have one of these major worldwide meditations, you'll be part of it.
Perfect. And they really are powerful, and I appreciate always getting the alert myself. And then, of course, I share it, which, of course, you guys can do, because the more the merrier, literally. And so that's part of the beauty of social media. James, it's so funny. I had I think it's just a crack up because I'm not that socially apt. And I had Leah Pearlman, who was the person who invented the like button, and she was on the show. It was so amazing to sort of talk about social media and just what it's. Some people demonize it a bit, but of course the beauty of it is phenomenal. And one thing that I wanted to say as I was listening to you speak was about the difference between, the politics of a place, let's say China or Russia or North Korea or wherever, and the people. And there is a big difference. And of course, I know we all know that, but I think we forget that if somebody it's just like if there's a Donald Trump, it doesn't mean all people in America think like he does. And so I feel like when you go to these places, there are many people there. You're not just having a quiet, sort of court performance for the dignitaries, but I think this is for all the people. And so I feel like this is so beautiful that the people in North Korea, for example, who don't get TV and aren't able to really have a very large world view at all, have this beautiful American coming halfway across the world, and they know it's sort of dangerous and everything. And yet there you are, and you're singing, and your beautiful vibration and music and words and guitar and everything gets into the cell structure of all these people. So I think that's again something to remember, that it's the people you're getting to, really.
Recently I was in Japan, and I was in Hiroshima for the 71st anniversary of the atomic bomb. And we did some beautiful work there. And I met with a woman, Toshika is her name, and she's one of the last survivors of the blast that was in Hiroshima at that time. She was 7 years old when it happened. And one of the things that Toshika said was, she said, make friends with people from other countries. Because when you have friends all over the world, this is how peace comes. Yeah. And it's exactly what you were just saying, that when we meet people, whether it be Russia or anywhere else, we realize that we're all the same. I remember the first time I went to Iraq. It was at a time when I was worried, how would people respond to me being an American? But the people that I met there were wonderful. I remember after I did the big concert there, they had a big party for me, and we ate and drank and sat around and sang Simon and Garfunkel songs all night long. And they were no different than anyone else. And I found that to be true everywhere in the world. So that really is one of the keys to peace.
And I think that it says so much. And I know I get to chat with people from a lot of parts of the world, different places in the Middle East. And I've studied the Quran a bit. And so when I chat with them and I talk about the Quran and I say things to them, like, I know that it's in the Quran, it's not okay to kill a tree. And they're like, yes, an American who understands the Quran. Yes. And I think that's part of it too, is being a good listener and allowing people to really use their voice. And, you know, you're bringing your beautiful voice wherever you're going. And then at the same time, you're listening to the people and they want to tell you their story. And I'm sure there's so much healing and love when people are allowed to tell their story. Don't you find?
Oh, yes. That's one of the most powerful things that we have, are stories, where we can come together and tell stories of peace rather than stories of war. That's when we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, and just our own story, just whatever is going on with us, just our own little journey that it might be that, and I think the more I hear people's stories, the more I realize, I mean, we always say there is no other and there is no they and all that, but when you really hear people's stories, you realize, yeah, I've gone through that with my 16-year-old kid, or I went through that when I was 12, or, you know, whatever. There really is, you know, quite a, the Venn diagram gets bigger and bigger. Jimmy, I want you to come into my studio when you come
Next
to
time in
LA.
LA, let's make sure we do that,
Please.
for sure.
My wonderful producer, John, is telling me that we're running out of time. I can't handle it, but I wanted to.
Time. You run out of it.
Yes, and then we get more. So that's kind of how that happens. We fill up our glass again. So I would love for you to play us out if you would honor us in doing that. I just want to do a couple little quick shout outs. You know, you guys follow me on Twitter and all that stuff. And follow Jimmy, we put up a bunch of stuff on the video so they can see it, hear it, know it about how to follow you. And get on, find out what Beyond Words is doing. They're also doing this amazing cruise in February, which is sold out. But, you know, I'm sure there'll be information about that. And then there will be one next year. And, you know, Jimmy's going to be on it and all of that. So I'm just talking fast because I want to stop talking and have you just play us out. And until next time, this is Sunny, the Sunny Chayes Show. And just remember, we all make a difference. And as I say, our peace troubadour is going to float us out of here.
Okay. Oh Lord, I am an instrument of your peace. Oh Lord, I am an instrument of your peace. Oh Lord, I am an instrument of your peace, of your peace. I am your instrument, an instrument of your peace.
Yay. Bye-bye, guys. See you next time.